So let's see. Danko. Anyways, so with what we have just proven, right? We've proven that YT bisects MTN. So we have now stated that the purple angles are equal. This is equal. The red ones are equal. The blue ones are equal. Perfect. Now this particular question, right? It says, prove that XT. Actually, let me move this down a little bit. Let me not disregard the sketch. I can actually just re-put the dots and the, and the colors and the everything here. These are purple. And then we said that this big one here is equal to this whole one here because of angles opposite equal sides. And then we say this small part is equal to this part because of the 10-chord theorem. Perfect. So all that being said, with this statement that they're asking us to prove for a whole 6 marks, you can clearly see this is like a proportionality theorem kind of statement. You see, now this kind of a theorem this kind of a statement can only be written out after proving that lines are similar, especially in this kind of a format. So if you look at what we have, the lines that they're talking about here, it's XM. What you want to do is, with these kinds of questions, you want to identify 2 triangles that you can show are similar. Once you have shown that those 2 triangles are similar, then these expressions, they're easy to write. So for you to identify which 2 triangles you should prove to be similar before you can end up with this, all you do is you make use of the lines that they're telling you here, or the lines that they're giving you. Like, for example, here they're talking about XM. XM is this line over here. And then they're talking about XT. XT is this line over here. Now, logically speaking, based on just those 2 lines, if they're going to talk about XM, which is this line here, and they are also then going to talk about XT, which is this line over there, fine. Our first assumption would be the triangle we're probably going to deal with is the triangle XMT. It's an okay assumption, because I'm like, they spoke about X, they spoke about M, and then here they're talking about T down here. You see, so XMT, it's fine. We could assume this is one of the triangles. Secondly, here they spoke of XT again. Okay, so there's XT here again. And then they spoke of XN, which is this long line over there. So obviously, if they're going to speak of XT again, and then they're also then going to proceed to talk about N, I mean, logically speaking, the triangle you'd be dealing with is XTN, you see. So that's how you identify which triangles you're going to work with. You look at the lines that they spoke about, and you see which kind of a triangle can logically be drawn from that information. So with these 2 triangles, remember your task is to show that they are similar. So what you do is, fortunately, we already know that the N here is equal to the small t down there because of our 10-chord theorem, you see. So the other thing is, without overthinking it also, because of, our sketch, this here is a common angle to both triangles, you see, because it's the X over here and it's the X over there. You see, we have now identified 2 pairs of angles in both triangles. Those 2 pairs of angles are equal to each other. And the reasons we have to say that those 2 angles are equal, they're not difficult reasons. For example, the T here equal to this N, we already know they're equal because of the 10-chord theorem, you see. The X here equal to this X for this triangle, it's a common angle for both triangles. That's not a difficult reason, of which all we need is just 2 reasons to show that 2 triangles are similar. Because as long as you find 2 reasons, the third angles, you can always say they are equal because of interior angles of a triangle, which is what we're going to do. You see, this angle here, we're going to say it's equal to that one because of interior angles of a triangle. So let's do that bit by bit, starting from the top. We can even start with this X, or rather, for us to end up with this, right? Remember, we have to start with telling them which two triangles are similar. So all this that we have been talking about, we have to put it on paper. So we have to tell them that we're working with this triangle and this triangle. Now the one thing is, depending on the triangles you're talking about, you want to label them after you have identified which triangle is, which angle is equal to which angle, because it just keeps things in sync, keeps everything synchronized. So you already know the x here goes with the x, and you know that the t goes with the n. So when you're gonna label this triangle, you can label it, right, whichever way you want. So we can say here, since we're about to prove this, we firstly have to state which triangles are we working in. So here we can say in triangle, let's say here x, t, m. X, T, M. In triangle XTM and triangle, before we label this one, we have to now be careful. So since we started with X here, and X here goes with X, right? For this other triangle, we also have to start with X. And then since we then mentioned T for this one we'll then have to mention N. And then obviously, if lastly we mentioned M over here, so lastly here we have to mention T. That's how you want to label these triangles, because now as you're going to be showing that certain angles are equal, all you're doing is you're matching letter for letter. So the x is equal to the x, the t is equal to the n, then the m is equal to the t there. You see, you have to make your life easier like that. So let's start. Here we're going to say x is equal to x. It's a common angle. And then secondly, we're going to say here we know this is called T1. This is just n, so it's fine. Here you can now say T1 equal to n. The reason is 10-chord theorem. So because you've shown that two pairs of angles are equal, the third one is automatically equal because of interior angles of a triangle. So we're going to tell them that. So m here, we know it's labeled m1. The whole t here, we have to call it xtn. So let's start with m1. m1 is equal to the whole angle t, which is this whole thing here. We can call it xtm. You see, it makes more sense for us to call this xtm. We don't have to call it t1 plus t2 plus t3, because we're not trying to the whole angle as an angle. So here xtn, these are equal. We know that they're equal because of interior angles of a triangle. You see, because the previous two sets of angles are already equal. So the third ones automatically have to be equal. So based on what we have said, right, now we can say, therefore, triangle XTM is similar to triangle XNT. XNT. The reason for writing this, as we've said, is just angle, angle, angle. Now, this is important that we labeled our triangles like this, because if you don't label your triangles correctly, it'll be very difficult for you to end up with this, you see. So since our triangles are labeled correctly, as long as they're labeled correctly, right, we are able to then say something as follows. We're able to then write out that xt over xn, xt over xn is equal to tm over nt, tm over nt, which is also then equal to xm over xt, xm over xt. The reason for you writing all these three, your reason will just be proportionality theorem, you see. So now you are home free, because all you are tasked to do now is to choose which two of these, which two pairs look like the one you're dealing with there. And you can already see which two pairs those are. There's xm and xt there. Here we have xm and xt. Here there's xt and xn. Here there's xt and xn. So from writing this, you can just pick out two that are relevant to you. See? Therefore, you can even start with this as they did, you see. Xm over xt is equal to xt over xn. You see, which is what they want you to prove. Hence why they're giving you 6 marks, you see. So those 6 marks, it's a matter of identifying which triangles do they want you to work with. For you to identify the triangles, it's based on the lines they're dealing with. They use this line, we got this triangle. Then we saw, okay, they're using this line, we got this triangle. When naming those triangles, before we named it, we made use of our sketch. We looked and said, okay, which ones are going to be equal? The x and the x was going to be equal, perfect. Then we said, okay, the t down here is equal to the n up there, which is the t down here and the n there. So as long as we have known which two pairs we're going to use, we can label our triangle that way. You see, we labeled here xtm, we labeled this one x and t. We proved similarity. After proving similarity, because we had labeled our triangles correctly, we were then able to write this out. And then we were then able to come out with our answer over there. Then they'll give us 6 marks for that question.